What's up guys, this is Shire talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'll be making a full review for the Romancing Festival Matriarch banner. This banner brings Matriarch now more offensive and defensive support that doesn't buff as much as her previous style. Maria, a character that can give you buff, debuff, but also very nice buffs that last for just a short period of time. Gustave, a strong damage dealer that also becomes much stronger if you have Saruin. And Sephira, RNG damage dealer, but also with high damage potential. Well, let's start talking about Matriarch. She has 120% STR, the highest one so far, 110% endurance, and 120% will. Her agility is also pretty high with 115%. There are reasons for this, but you can see that this is the highest following if you compare it to her latest style. We were not even on the 100s yet. Now we have much higher status. The reason is mostly because the game is changing. Content is becoming harder, so higher status will be needed. Now, she starts the fight with 12 BP, and then grants all surviving allies this Battle Nature. This is a type of passive that will increase their damage potential by 20%, and if they are attacked by an attack that will cause resist, they will reduce damage taken by 30%, and then they also have a 12% chance to evade. That is very important in the fight, and also she can cast that again by use of the Lance Dance skill. That is a fast skill. It's also important that she has high speed because some bosses may have fast skills as well. And then it's a Piercing Sun attack with double S power, and before attacking, grant all surviving allies the same passive again. So that is super important to understand that she has two different layers of 30% damage reduction, but also two stacks of 12% chance to evade. Also, when landing an attack, she recovers her HP by around 300 and also 1 BP. When landing an attack, she will also be buffing all status of all surviving allies by 5%. 5% doesn't seem much, right? It isn't. Then she always chases with Glinting Troll. That is an interesting attack. You can see it here. It is single target Piercing Sun again, but it has random enemies, hitting between 1 to 2 times with C power. 2 times it's similar to a triple S power attack, and before anything else, you should consider the defense down. That applies 10% defense reduction. So the thing is, if you are using a fast skill and then you will chase with this, you will allow your other characters to do a little more damage, but the defense down only lasts for 1 turn. It doesn't change all that much. Then she has a second chase, call it Ritual of Wisdom, 50% chance to trigger, and that skill has double S power, Piercing Sun again, critical versus Undead and Demon like the first one as well, and it will recover all surviving allies BP by 1. That's very interesting, but 50% chance to happen only. Then we have another one, 50% chance to trigger as well, White Spear. This is the same skill that she had in her past style. Hitting 3 times random enemies with deep power, and critical to Undead and Demon. Grants all surviving allies an attack boost. This time it will be 10% because it's a chase, and it lasts for 2 turns. So if it happens, it can increase a little bit of the power of your other allies, especially because she is already increasing by 20% via her Lance Dance, so actually 50% in this case. The thing is, she has to keep using Lance Dance in order to apply her most offensive and defensive supports. The last passive increases her damage potential by 40% and reduces damage taken at all times by 30. Okay, only 1 defense passive because she applies 2. Okay, that's understandable, but there is just one problem here. She won't have enough EP. You can see that she gets only EP by attacking. That means that she gets at least 5, sometimes 6, sometimes 7. But she was made to be used with some other characters that we'll be discussing later. The skill number 1 is a direct single target Piercing Sun attack that grants all surviving allies a defense boost of minus 15% damage. So pretty similar to normal attack but with 2 elements, and you have this defense boost that has a small effect. The good thing is that her agility is pretty high, and even if it's not fast, she will most likely attack before the enemies. It's free and it's made in order so that you can do something if you don't have enough BP. Well, you will not be decreasing damage taken by 30%, but 15 is okay for free. And then she has Dreaming Light, the single target attack with Piercing Sun damage again that recovers her HP by around 2000 with triple S power. Okay, this skill here is only useful if you are using her in a drawing position, for example, a center of a Rising King or Rising Phoenix EX. I don't feel like she is someone that wants to be in this position anyway, but if you want to, you can keep using this skill, but you have to give up on that passive. Decrease damage taken by 30, has a chance to also evade. But you just have to remember that all of her effects relies on the case that you are resisting damage taken. You need to equip your characters well. If you are in a boss fight like the 7 Heroes fight, where they use multiple elemental attacks, it will be hard to, unless you make the new armors that are now available in the armor shop exchange. But that takes a lot of time, like at least 1 week of grinding to get one piece. But eventually this is much more doable than you think, and she is easier to use. Now, you can inherit some stuff for this character, like Heaven's Heal from her past style is a good inheritance, because this one will be giving you healing without spending LP, that will also buff all status by, in this case, 40% on max level. Can only be used 2 times per battle though. If you want her to be a full offensive damage dealer, ignoring the passive, you can use White Spear, that will instead amplify damage by 15% for everyone. It's not a fast attack, but again, her agility is nice, but she won't attack before your fast attackers like Leon, for example, so that may not amplify his damage by too much, but you still have a 50% chance to chase again with White Spear. It can help a little, so think about that. She can debuff with Acupuncture Plus if you ever want this. It's a 30% debuff guaranteed. It comes from her special S style. You can also use something like, I believe, her Pin of Heartthrob, but in this case I don't think it's so useful because you are better off using this with her buffer style. And it requires a lot of VP as well, 12. You also have Pin of Protection to heal 2 times and give this evasion. In this case it uses 2 LP though. So, another way to use the character. In her Pin of Peace style, there is also Ritual of Wisdom if you want to give EP to everyone, but you do less damage and you have to forget about her passive. It's always a problem because she wants to be used in order to do damage and still provide support. Matriarch is very similar to what we had with, for example, Alkaiser. Alkaiser was blunt and sun damage. She is Pierce and Sun. They are not exactly full-time damage dealers, their damage is a little limited. Alkaiser had a guarantee chase that was not that strong, and then he had a chance to chase with a pretty strong attack. In her case, she has 2 different types of chases with chances. Alkaiser can also apply defense boost 2 times, and he also has Glory Force that can give you one of the up, guard up, and evasion. In this case, he can recharge with this same style, while in the case of the newest Matriarch, she can only use it twice during the whole fight. But since she has to keep using her skill number 2, it's not really a big problem. But they are pretty similar if you think about them. They were characters that could use it to do a little damage while also providing support. The best characters that you will be using your Matriarch with will be, for example, Empress latest style, because she's just so good. She allows you to get 3 BP when you do any type of sun attack. And also you get that 50% damage increase for sun, and then you will also apply a defense boost to everyone. So besides having those 30% damage reduction stacked for 2 times, you can still apply another defense boost. Final Press is also another character that can be used defensively. Her damage is much weaker than the newest Matriarch, and she also has a recovery skill, Light of the Sun, that will actually be better to be used instead of the Matriarch's version. After Final Impress, I guess another good style to be used with will be Leon. Why? Leon gives you 3 BP if you use his skill 3 all the time. But he himself has problem doing this. If you are in the same squad with Leon, Matriarch, and Impress, they will all help each other in order to be able to use their best skills all the time. But there's still Shire, remember? Shire is another character that is meta in the game, and Shire will be providing you with BP, but he cannot have a perfect cycle unless you have a secondary BP battery. And that can be Harji, it can be someone else like Thomas, like Kenji, like Asper, like many characters that can give BP. But then, well, you already have a full party. It will depend in the battle, because you may not cover all roles. Like, for example, you don't have a buff breaker unless you're using Asper. You will not have a debuff cleanser or a Neomant cleanser. Will depend on the fight. I believe that you can also use her together with Alkaiser if you want, but Alkaiser is getting old, and Matriarch is much better if you're using Sun, or if you're thinking about using her on the Remembrance fight. The Megalith Dragon is super hard, and we don't have many characters that can apply defense boosts. Since the boss buff breaks you, using the latest Matriarch before this one doesn't really help, because she only gives you 15% damage reduction, and all of her other effects are based on healing or on buffing, and those will be broken anyway. So this is an improvement for Remembrance. Will work for those that have many Sun specialists, but all in all, this Matriarch is not meta. She is not an unskippable character, and because of all of that, I believe she is not really a must-have, just someone. As my final words for Matriarch, well, she's good because she can offer damage and support. Her buff value now is very limited, being either 10% or up to 20%, depending on how many chases you get. She has BP problems because of her skill 2 costing 10, and she has 5 or 6 or 7 BP generation per turn, and that is not enough. If you have Fun and Impress, she'll be very close to her full potential if you use them together. If you have Leon or Shire together, then you have a very useful squad with Sun. But if you don't have them all, as a standalone unit, I would say that because of her BP problems, she deserves a 4. But in her full potential, I believe she's a 4.5 out of 5. The next character is Maria, and she is full support again, with an endurance of 105% being actually very good, and 125% will. Full defensive unit with low agility, but it's not really a problem. Very good volleys for love and charisma too. Well, let's start talking about offensive and defensive hope tree. She will be increasing all surviving allies attack boost by 15% and also defense boost of 15%. This is somewhat of a downgrade when compared to her other style that has Screw Guard that decreases damage taken by 20% instead, but requires everyone to be alive. But this one also gives offensive values and keeps the idea that if you get killed, you will recover HP of everyone else's by at least 2000. She then has one damage reduction passive of 30% and a secondary one with 30% too. Then, by the end of a turn, she will recover her own HP by around 350, also recover 2 BP, and cleans all surviving allies from darkness, that really doesn't make an impact, sleep, paralysis, and petrification. Well, all these 3 status can lead to you dying, and they are all of the remaining ailments left of Muse selection. Muse has many different ailment cleanses, as you can see by the end of turn: Poison, Berserk, Confusion, and Charm. So if you have both, you'll be cleansing by the end of turn. But it's hard to use both, but they can still compete for the same slot. Okay, but now we need to discuss the second skill called Light Blessing Ceremony. Well, it is support, costs 5 VP. It is not fast, but it doesn't matter. It would then only be used 2 times per battle, and will grant a permanent heat up that will increase your damage potential by 10%, and also a permanent defense up that will decrease damage taken by 5%. And then it casts Light Blessing Hour for 4 times, no turn limit. Actually, it has a turn limit because it will last for 4 turns. And on the start of the next turn, you will trigger 3 different effects: 2 BP to yourself, then an attack boost that will increase your damage potential by 50% according to JP, and then a defense boost that increases damage taken by 30% for that turn according to JP. Okay, that is nice. I wanted to have a higher defense boost, probably something similar to Shire level of 50%, but his version is a skill, this one is a passive. The values are different unless they change it in global. We don't know. We need some testing. But then there is something attached to the skill. When you activate this skill, once per battle, you will double the cast of Light Blessing Hour. Yeah, for the first time you are casting. And then you will also apply a permanent end of turn recovery. That will be healing around 350 because of her big love. So, nice, right? That means that on the first 4 triggers, you are going to get actually 100% attack boost and 2 stacks of minus 30% damage via the defense boost very large, and also 4 BP instead of just 2. But for the second cast, you're going to get the normal values. Okay, and that's interesting. It also means that some fights you may actually want to wait to use this skill, because the enemy gets some heat ups, and then you may actually want some time to apply the skills, but you are also missing on this defense up that gives you a 5% damage reduction. Maybe it's still better to start the fight with very big volleys and help a lot of your characters to get PP to keep their best cycles. It depends. Okay, but the permanent HP recovery is nice, because the character has good love, and very nice effects to even increase your damage for some speed runs, because you can still cast a second usage of Light Blessing Ceremony, for example, on turn 2. So for some turns, you have 3 times the effects of Light Blessing Aura. That is for turn 3, 4, and 5. You're going to have 150% damage increase, 6 BP per turn, and then 3 stacks of minus 30% damage via defense boost very large. That can be interesting, but that is also useful for quick fights or for when you want to use this because the boss got too strong. Okay, but usually people will want to use a second cast on the end of turn 5 so that you have effects up to turn 9. After you use this skill, you can decide to use something else. For example, her skill 1 is 3. It's a single target E-power attack, pretty similar to a normal attack that will cast a very small HP healing. That will be around 350 free healing for everyone. Or you can use her skill number 3, that is support and fast, and she will debuff all enemies STR, dexterity, agility, and intelligence. You have to level up the skill to reach the 20% debuff. You're only debuffing the offensive status of the enemy, and then you'll be buffing your defensive status. For Endurance, Will, Love, and Charisma. If she buffs Love and Charisma too much, her passive healing can increase up to very good levels, like, for example, healing for 600, 700. That is a big increase. But some boss fights will remove your buffs anyway, so you have to think about that as well. Overall, Maria does not need inheritance, but if you have her past style, you can inherit any of the 3 skills, to be honest. Look, if you inherit Golden Dragon Dance, you will then be able to buff your status and then heal on the same time. And for 9 BP instead of 10. But that is only if you have a very good debuffer already and want Maria to attack. Most people will actually want to inherit Light of the Sun because this is an AoE heal spell that can also apply evasion. Some fights may have some gimmicks like the 7 Heroes fight where Kazinsi will use Soul Steel that kills your character entirely. Or you can even inherit Sunlight Blow if you want to increase your ailment resistance. That is something that may be useful as well, but it's just large effect, not very large effect. Maybe if you have someone else also casting ailment resistance, like probably Muse, if you have them together. I don't know why would you bring those two, because you are limiting your damage. Anyway, it is something to consider. But if you don't have any inheritance, that's not a problem, because she works as she is. There is also Healing Light Plus that can be inherited from her A style, and this will revive someone, but also uses LP and cast a small will buff. And as for new players, you can inherit from her S style that should be on the Romancing shop, the attack called Seismic Strike that can stun and paralyze so that you can fight Kazinsi or the Real Queen on Remembrance, because that is pretty doable, because 8 PP is easy if you are using her support skills. Maria is interesting. She actually makes Patrick look much worse, because Patrick is also another character that can increase your damage potential via use of his skills. And I believe that overall she offers much more and can use it outside of just rush battles. Well, Maria is very useful because of being a club user. Even though many club users are support, she does have a special gimmick and can be used easily on Remembrance fights. She will improve the squads for future Remembrances. I don't know if Maria alone, alongside our best club users, can give you a win on Megalith Dragon Heart 5, but she is one step into the right direction. by being very defensive and also providing lots of support. Even if they are limited, she can help you. But I wish she had a mechanic that will allow her to recharge the skill number 2. Some characters have those types of recharges. Maybe even after turn 10, recharging the skill would be amazing. But as it is, it restricts her utility for the future. For example, we had Arpina that had lots of damage for 10 turns, and then, well, after 10 turns, nothing. Just like Summer Neon. She will have a interesting gimmick right now, but eventually we'll get characters that can apply all of these things without having a limit. So Maria is definitely skippable if you don't mind about Remembrance, but if you do, she's still good for that. Emerald Beyond does not have club users, so they will be much more limited than other weapon types. If you want to get Maria now, she can help you with Megalith Dragon. If you don't care about that, you can skip her. I believe she deserves a 4 out of 5 in my new grading system. The next character will be Fake Gustave, and this guy here is a damage dealer. 132% STR is nice. Well, Hihachi has 140, but she is an exception. Then he has 100% endurance and 100% intelligence as well. He can inherit a debuff skill, but besides that, he doesn't really care about intelligence. We have 100% agility and also 110% will. All status are very nice, but I wish he had even higher endurance and will. Then love and charisma suffer because of that. He is a villain, that's why. Now let's move on. He starts the fight with 14 DP. Well, to use his best attacks. Then on start of a turn, he can trigger 5 times many effects. This weak heat up of 50% increase in damage potential versus weak targets. And then grants himself this end of turn recover. So he gets 1 DP extra for each new turn, up to 5 times. So eventually he will get 8 BP by the end of turn, on turn 5 and onwards. Then he will deal 10% recoil damage to all other surviving allies. That's how it happens when you use a villain. But 10% is not really a problem, and I'll explain why. Also, when he lands an attack, he'll be buffing his STR endurance and will by 15%. But look, he already had good values, now he can buff. The only problem is that if a boss uses buff break before attacking. And then he can recover his HP by very small. That in his case may probably be around 250. And then when he attacks, he will always chases with skill number 3, Cursed Quartet. It's a 4-hit C-power attack with Slash and Shadow. Well, if you are using a triple S weapon, a 2-hit attack with C-power equals a triple S skill. Let's say that you are chasing 2 times with triple S power. Remember, for example, I believe Joe had a 3-hit C-power chase and a triple S power chase, both on 50%. Well, Fake Gustave will do more damage than Joe could do just by this chase alone. But there's more to the character, and we'll be discussing. Now, he still gets another weak hit up on start of a turn 4 times for extra 50% damage increase versus weak targets each time. Then he has a 40% damage increase at all times. This one doesn't matter if the enemy is weak or not. And then reduce damage taken by 30%. So when you consider everything, he has 490% damage potential, alongside 1 damage reduction, and he will also be buffing STR endurance and will when attacking. And he always chases. Takes 5 turns to get fully ready, but that is still okay because of his chase being too strong. Well, and his setup is pretty similar to latest characters like Leon. Newest style is another nuker. Well, Leon reaches 410% damage increase after using skill number 3. And he has super snipe and then at least 5 chases. Leon will do more damage overall, but not by much because Fake Gustave has something else. But before, I will also compare this to the latest Razen, because this guy is also a little similar. Razen has this attack and defense boosts on start of turns, and there are turns where he has 2 effects, and he also relies on weak heat ups. But his chase is terrible. He chases with a E-power attack that buffs STR and intelligence. Fake Gustave will have the HP recoil damage to the party. That's why he is different. He is risking more to reach higher damage potential. But you have to understand that you only get this recoil damage for 5 turns. So after that, it will be gone. Now, we need to understand his skills. The first one is a 3BP E power attack that hits twice. It will be similar to an S power attack, I believe. And it deals slash and shadow damage. You should not be using this skill most of the time unless you don't have BP. He is much better when used together with Saruin. More about that in a few. Then we have Twilight Dancing Blade. This skill here is amazing. It costs 14 BP, that's quite a lot. And it has slash and shadow damage. Again, he is a full shadow damage dealer. It will recover the HP of all surviving allies, but his love is pretty bad, just 28%. But you have to also check out some characters that can do the same, like Mirza had 40%. Latest Polka had, let's see, Chef version 62%. So they had better healing. Even this one has 56. It won't make a big impact having lower love, because this is just not about the love. You also have to care about the charisma of the character. And if you are bringing buffers, this can help him reach higher potential. But 14 BP for 4S attack, that will recover the HP of everyone's. It will be closer to 1,100 or so at start. And then he will still chase with Twilight Flash. Twilight Flash is funny. This is a roll attack with double S power and slash and shadow again. It was stolen from Noel Christmas style. There is no chase on JP. And this will give him an attack and defense boost. The attack has large effect and the defense boost has medium effect. According to JP, both values are 15%. I am not entirely sure, because on global a medium effect will be 25%, and the attack boost will be 20% when you consider the level of the skill, and I believe it will take the Twilight Dancing Blade level up. So, well, that is insane, because if you can keep using this every turn, then he becomes much better defensively and gets some attack boost. That will not matter too much since he's already pretty strong, but it's a 4S attack, then followed up by a double S attack, and then followed up by 4 hits of C power. That's a lot of damage, Fake Gustave. I know that you will not beat Kihachi, but those that skip it Kihachi now have someone that will do a lot of damage. Just remember that because he's attacking again, he will heal again, and then he will buff again because of that skill number 2, while still adding the extra healing. I know that most of the supports of the game right now will also give you healing effects that are usually enough, but depending on the fight, if you are not using some of them, Fake Gustave will help. But the dependence of BP battery can be a problem, because he only gets up to 8 BP, right? Okay. Then, if you are using Shire every turn, you can give him 3. If you are using someone else, for example, like Leon, you can give him another 3. That is 6. 8 plus 6 means 14. And then you have enough to keep using the skill every single turn. But then, it's not something that you'll be able to do all the time. But if you can, amazing. Then I believe that his third skill, Cursed Quartet, is not good anymore, because you will do more damage by use of the second skill anyway. And just another fact, Twilight Flash was added just in order to make Fake Gustave very useful for the new Spiral Corridor 270, because there are enemies allied in a row and they are weak to Shadow and Slash. So you have someone that will help a lot there. But even then, he's going to attack the front row and the enemies may get some problems with their HP, and you have to kill them all together. You have to figure it out. But okay, now, who helps Fake Gustave besides Leon and besides Shire? Saruin. Well, Saruin is a very good damage dealer by himself. He also gives everyone's 30% damage reduction, and then he casts this Elemental Enhance to increase the damage of Fake Gustave by 50%. And then there is this other effect, Chain of Grudge. For all characters using shadow attacks, they will recover 3 BP, and they will also apply this shadow attack boost that increases shadow damage by 45% for all surviving allies. That means that the more shadow attackers that you have in the party, more effects you have. Besides Saruin, if you want to form a full shadow squad, you can bring, for example, Asus, the best debuffer in the game right now, with her skill Vesper Fall, that can give lots of SGR and intelligence debuffs to the party as well. Then there is Death. That is an okay character that also decreases damage taken, but not really a strong damage dealer. There is also Rock Bouquet, if you want to use her for damage and also morale down. Soltis will get better with a future release. There is also Paulus, that is a debuffer and buff breaker. Xiao, another debuffer. Juji, a debuffer damage dealer. And we'll get more and more. Even Rouge help you get defense boost when using shadow attacks, and it will decrease the shadow resistance of the enemy further. Well, it is harder to make a full shadow squad than a full sun squad, but if you have at least Saruin, you have an excuse to use fake Gustave anyway. If you have his passive style, you can inherit the first skill Shadow Cross that can debuff the agility and intelligence of the enemy by 15%. Or you can use Curse Impact skill, that is triple S power attack, Slash and Shadow, and it grants the target a morale down and a guard down of medium effect that lasts for 3 turns. So in some turns where you don't need to heal, cast this so that you decrease damage on the source by 25%, and you can increase your full damage as well for 3 turns. Guard down, medium barely makes an impact, but the morale down can impact. It is a way to decrease damage anyway. So Fake Gustave can benefit from the inheritance, but doesn't really require, since that second skill rotation is just that good. Overall, Fake Gustave is skippable because we actually prefer damage dealers that also give something to the party, but his damage potential is really high. That's why I believe he deserves at least a 3.5 out of 5, but more because of being a risky player. If he didn't have that recoil and BP problems, he will receive a much higher grade, but he can fix that, so take as you want. Still, not really a must-have, just another good to have. The last character is Sephira. She's a damage dealer. We have 122% SDR, that could have been higher. Agility is very nice with 115%, and there is 110% will. Okay. She doesn't have intelligence because she does not debuff, and dexterity is more than enough. Moving on, she starts the fight with 12 BP, and will also grant all surviving allies elemental enhance to slash. They will receive a 50% increase in damage potential when using slash attacks. Then she also casts this defense up indirect, that will reduce damage taken for indirect attacks by 30%, and it lasts for the whole fight. So it's like having that Mystic Line Formation passive added to the character. The nice thing is that she doesn't need to keep casting it every turn. If she dies, the effect still lasts. Then she has, when all allies are still surviving, 30% increase in her own damage potential, and if she were supposed to resist an attack, she would then reduce the damage taken by 40%. By the end of a turn, she recovers 1 BP as well. So, a 4 BP per turn character, right? On the start of a turn, she buffs all of her status by 15%. And then when landing an attack, she has a guaranteed chase of Moonfall Slash Plus. That is an 8 power attack, just slash damage. All of her attacks are just slash. That is actually her problem as well. But then she has a 50% chance to chase with Heaven and Earth Plus. That is an S power attack, a little stronger, that has a chance to stun. You should not worry about that. And then a 37% chance to chase with Doppelganger's Plus, that is finally much stronger, triple S power attack. And a 25% chance to chase with Plural Slash Plus. That is a unique skill that attacks between 1 to 12 times. Well, the average will be, I don't know, 7 hits. But 7 hits of E power is already insane. Yes, it is. It's a lot of damage. Even if you get 4 hits, you are already doing a lot. The problem is that you only have 25% chance to trigger this chase. She is very similar to M-Black, was in the past, but M-Black is an AoEer, and Sephira is a single target specialist, while still adding this elemental enhance to the party, including herself, her damage potential will be 80% alongside at least 1 damage reduction that needs to resist and 1 indirect damage reduction. But we still need to talk about her main skills. The first one is called Mirage Feathers and can be used 4 times per battle. It will recover her BP by 4 instantly, and then it will give her Phantom passive that gives her 25% chance to evade. You can use this 4 times per battle if you want. I don't know if you will want to use this, but it gives her 4 stacks of 25% chance to evade. Is this a guarantee evasion? No, the game will roll the dice 4 times and 25% chance to evade 4 times. Then skill number 1 is free, Gleaming Slash Plus is a Slash and Sun, and before attacking buffs STR by up to 25% on max level and launches any attack. It's good because buffing is nice with the character, but you want to use something better. Illusory Sky, the third skill, it's single target, slash damage and attacks random enemies 4 times. And will grant a slash attack boost with each attack. This will increase the slash attack damage to the party by up to 25% on max level and lasts for 2 turns. So just by use of this skill alone, she will improve the slash damage of everyone by 100%. This skill needed to be fast in order to be better, because you could use her together with Kihachi. If this was fast, it would guarantee that Sephira will go first. It also recovers her HP by very small effect with each attack. That would be around 300 healing. Okay, so the best setup is to cycle Illusory Sky every turn, but you need a lot of BP help. She only has 4 BP per turn. So even if you add characters that give 3 BP every turn, you're going to give 3 plus 3 if you are using people like Shire and Leon, and that is 6. It's still 10 at max. So when you don't have enough BP, use either Gleaming Slash Plus or Mirage Feathers. But if you have more people, like for example Katarina, that can also give you 2 extra BP, well, that could work, I guess. So Sephira has BP generation problems, but can reach very high damage potential with RNG. So especially because of that RNG element, I believe Sephira is easy to skip and deserves a 3.5 out of 5. The people that like to use characters that are RNG based can actually reach very high damage potential by use of the character. The problem is that she is pure slash and also uses swords, where on Remembrance she really doesn't make much impact. Okay, now let's go back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? Yes, I'll give it a Silver Plus award. Because all of them are good, none of them are top meta. For example, Matriarch is not really needed. If you already have her buffer style, in fights where you can buff, she still works super well, especially because she can recharge the heal. But this new Matriarch is a damage dealer and has BP problems and relies on you using other Sun specialists to make her better. Maria is very nice for Club Remembrance versus the Megalith Dragon, but it's also a character that won't fit in most other fights because of her limited usage of her skill number 2. Big Gustave is an extremely good damage dealer, but will also be much better on Saru in his squad, and since he just heals, most of our support units now heal enough. I don't think that is as good as having something like Defense Boost or Morale Down, but if you have his Inheritance, he becomes even better. Sephira is a damage dealer that just stays there doing slash damage, but can also provide an indirect damage reduction. If you don't like characters that are RNG based, she's even more skippable. Well, if you pull here, the good thing is that any character can be used. They may not be the best ones on what they do, but it's okay to pull till you get something. I pull it here, I got Matriarch only so far, and I will go to I got Maria because I care about Remembrance, and I don't think they will release too many club units to help on Remembrance. If you don't care about Remembrance, then you have even less reasons to pull on this banner. And UniverSe is coming, and we'll get other characters that will still provide a lot of effects and will be more useful in hard challenges. With all that said, this is just my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you soon on the next one. Goodbye.